So one of the trends over the 3 days of the Shanghai Expo was definitely power meters. I think power meters are really suited to being a Chinese product because if they're cheap, they're pretty easy to mail around the world. It's not as heavy as something like a bike or a wheel set, easy to mail. 2, it's the electronics, and as history has shown, China's getting pretty good at electronics. They make everyone's phones, and all of their own phone brands are getting really good too. The 3 main players at the expo were Magene, XCadey and Sigeyi. Now Magene and XCadey you may have heard of before. Magene I've even featured quite a lot on the channel here before with their Ridge single-sided power meter and their Gravit Smart Trainer. XCadey I've not featured them here before, but you might have seen them around. Shane Miller, the GP Llama, did a good review on the XCadey that you can go check out if you want to check out that one. I actually have an unreleased XCadey unit on the way to me now, and that will be going under test soon, so video coming soon for that one. But the one of these you may have never heard of is this Sigeyi company, and they've been making power meters since 2015. So let's dive into these one at a time and see what they have to offer, starting with Magene. On the Magene stand, the main attraction was the new Ridge Dual. So last year had the single-sided Ridge, this year has the dual-sided Ridge. Very similar, but this time with a strain gauge on each arm. Again, powered by CR2032 batteries, giving you 350 hours of runtime. Accuracy plus or minus 1.5%. And all the usual stuff you get from dual-sided, like power, cadence, left-right balance, torque effectiveness, and pedal smoothness. Another point of interest on the Magene stand was the update to OneLap, their own virtual riding software, kind of like their answer to Zwift. Now, the old OneLap, it was alright, but the graphics were always looking a bit dated. And graphics aren't everything when you're training, but you know, they do help. Anyway, the update to OneLap has it looking a lot nicer, especially the environment work. Apparently they took on an environment artist who's pretty experienced and pretty good, and it definitely shows. So yeah, OneLap's looking pretty good, and might be worth checking out again in the future. Over on the XCadey stand, things are looking pretty similar. They also have a single-sided basic power meter, and then a dual-sided power meter with a power meter on both crank arm. One difference with their dual-sided power meter is that it's not battery powered, it actually is chargeable. But this actually brings the battery life down to 150 hours between charges. One other difference between the XCadey dual-sided meter and the Magene dual-sided meter is the XCadey has more options. So Magene is only available for Dura Ace and Ultegra, whereas the XCadey version has Dura Ace, Ultegra 105, as well as Cannondale and Rotor options. But one of the things I'm most looking forward to from XCadey is their spider-based power meter. I'm a SRAM fanboy. Most of my bikes are running SRAM. And yeah, so these strain gauge on the crank arm setups that Magene and XCadey use for their single-sided and dual-sided power meters, they don't work on carbon fiber crank arms. So at last we have a spider-based power meter which we can use with SRAM or other carbon fiber cranks such as Specialized. Like I said, I have one of those in the mail, so stay tuned for the full review. Over on the Sigeyi stand, things are looking pretty similar too. They had this bogus demonstration of how their units were waterproof, but most of the electronics weren't actually under the water, so I don't know what the point of that was. But anyway, most of their setups are the same apart from one. They have one of their power meters, their dual-sided power meter. It doesn't use a strain gauge on both of the crank arms. So on the right-hand side, there's a strain gauge on the crank arm. But the second strain gauge is actually in the spindle, not on the left crank arm. Almost all of these power meters from all 3 manufacturers all claim a plus or minus 1.5% accuracy, but torque is cheap. And with these things just hanging on the wall, I can't really tell you much else. Anyway, for the sake of easy comparison, I've thrown together this graphic for you, and you can just have a look through and see what's what from the different manufacturers. A few of these units are in the mail on the way to me. When they get here, I'll put them through the paces, give them a long-term review, and let you know what's going on. Stay subscribed for that, and as always, China Cycling out.